Everyone wants to talk about the camera. Everyone wants to sell you a camera, a $6,000 a piece lens kit. But then, as you actually start doing, you begin to realize that the camera plays a very small part in what makes up filmmaking as a whole. To me, filmmaking is an idea, a concept, a story that is problem solved into existence. There's a long, winding road of prep, and if you've done your prep right, the shoot day itself is simply a day for execution. And then after the fact, you're in the cut, and you can't even remember if you shot this on an Alexa or a Venice or a Red. You're just trying to make the edit work. So in the spirit of how truly crafty filmmaking is, here's a list of really weird, stupid things that made my filmmaking year a little bit easier. And the best part is the median price of things on this list is $3. There are a few outliers. Here I am telling you to go spend $3 at a thrift store. How do I monetize that? We may want something, but we don't really need anything. We have each other. What more could we need? One of the things that's bugged me over the years is the little rubber gaskets that are on Magic Arms. And it doesn't take much tightening and untightening for them to come loose. So let me tell you a story. One day, one of the little grippy rubber washers fell off of one of my little Magic Arms, and in a moment of inspiration, I made one out of a piece of scrap leather. This turned out to be the biggest moment of inspiration of my life. And like Charlton Heston returning from the burning bush, I was a new man. It's where my gray hairs of wisdom originated. But over the years, I've made a lot of stuff out of leather. I've made portfolio covers and other random things. I think every dude goes through a leather making phase. Classic. But I have scrap laying around. So it turns out that this leather holds way better than the rubber ever did. And ever since then, whenever I've needed to mount something in a weird place, I've just used these leather scraps. I have a leather punch, but even the biggest hole on it isn't quite big enough for a 1/4-20, which is what most camera parts are attached with. It needs a little bit of coercion. I also have a kit of punches. This is foreshadowing. I bought at a store called Princess Auto. Yes, here in Canada, the most manly store you can buy tools at is called Princess Auto. I think it's sort of our equivalent to the US's Harbor Freight, which I've never been to. So these punches are great because you can just pick any size you need and punch it out. Just make sure you're punching over something soft so you're not dulling the punches. Or you can keep it stupidly simple and just get yourself a 1/4-inch bit and drill out the hole. So why we need these big punches or a drill bit is because I don't use the leather that you would say use to make a little wallet or a pair of flattering chaps. I'm using thick leather if you imagine what you would make a belt out of. And in those cases, it's a little tricky to just cut it with scissors. I even have a big disc of leather on my film scanning station from a few videos back. I don't even know how to cut a circle on them. If anyone can offer suggestions to actually make circles with these, let me know. Otherwise, I just cut them with some heavy-duty scissors to get the rough shape and then punch the bolt hole in the middle. I'm using scraps I already have. You can go to a fabric store. They'll have bins of leather scraps. The leather store, they sell little bags of little scraps. So for like literally a couple bucks, you can have a lifetime supply of washers or gaskets that have a little bit extra friction, so whatever you're mounting on a Magic Arm is not going to lose tension and fall and ruin your shot. Leather. So I see going around on social media people discovering diopters, and diopters are little lenses that you can put in front of your lens to change your focus distance. I've used diopters on film sets quite a bit in the past, but usually they're paired with an anamorphic lens. Anamorphics are known to have a very poor minimum focus. You're shooting anamorphic, and then you need a close-up of the product, then you throw a diopter on. So I've seen people filming with these diopters, and they add another piece of glass to your kit. They're fragile, you need to carry them in a soft pouch. So why not use extension tubes instead? They add distance between your lens and your camera body. It's literally a spacer, and that changes the minimum focal distance. They're optically passive. You're not introducing new glass that you need to clean or worry about scratching. They're just big chunks of metal or plastic that have contacts so that the electronics can pass through and, do autofocus and all of that sort of stuff. Let's do a little comparison. Let's see what's sharper, because I haven't even looked. I only use extension tubes, and I just bought a set of diopters just to see what all the hype is about. Are they better? You tell me. You tell me. Votes in the comments. Please increase engagement on this video by letting me know whether you prefer diopters or extension tubes. When I get a new camera or new lens system, I order some, UV filters, I order some extra batteries, and I order some diopters. And then I order myself a extra large chocolate milkshake. And then I hate myself after, but that's for a different video. So here's another one. And I've kind of harped on this one a couple times recently because it's something I learned this year, and it is the tip that blew my mind that I can't believe I had never heard of until this year. And it is, if you are trying to get a perfect overhead shot, put a mirror on your surface underneath the camera, and when the camera's reflection is centered in the mirror, you are perfectly overhead of your surface. A $1 mirror can make your image perfect. And like I said at the beginning, filmmaking is a series of problems you're solving. Filmmaking is not about a cool camera, it's about the sum of the details, and one of those things is just making your framings click. And if you have a shortcut so you can get the shot fast, this is a great one. So now I keep a mirror on my work surface. Thank you, YouTube. When I wanted to do an overhead shot in the past, this is old Jesse, poor old Jesse, what an idiot. He would use a ball head and he would get the camera just right and he would tighten that ball head, and then when he lets go of the ball head, everything sags and it's not perfect. And Jesse wants perfection. Jesse gets what he wants, and he wants perfection. And another comment I got from viewers was to use a geared head. And I've heard of geared tripod heads in the past, but I never really even paid attention to what they are. They're very well used in photography. And I very quickly transitioned into filmmaking from photography, and I'm cheap. I can't get the cheap farmer out of my blood, so I just never even really looked at a geared head. And so I Googled a geared head, and I went onto Arcaswiss's website. They make the ultimate tripod head, and I feel like I almost died when I looked at the price. So I don't think my first geared head is going to be $2,000 or whatever, $4,000 Canadian. So I ended up looking for something cheaper to start, and of course I went to Amazon, and everyone's favorite brand. I always feel like I sound like a whale. Newer. It's not the world's best tripod head, but it's my first geared head, and it works, and it makes lining up these overhead shots just a breeze. You literally dial it centered and you're ready to go. It saves a lot of headache. I have sort of this wish list that I keep for when big sales come around, and on Black Friday I picked one up. The last video I made about my new film camera, this Mamiya RB67, I went out shooting with it on my tripod, my little ball head, and it looked so goofy. I need something bigger, and that's what this tripod head will come in handy for, and really dialing in framings on my medium format camera. So remember when I showed you my punch kit and I mentioned foreshadowing? This is where the foreshadowing ends up, and it is my $3 pouches. I've tried organizing my camera gear into bins and totes and all kinds of stuff, and you just run out of space so fast. Or a tote or anything rigid is either a quarter full or 110% full, and this is where I've transitioned everything in my kit into kits, into pouches. It's been a pouch revolution in our household. I'm talking about $1 dollar store messenger pouches. For some of the organization in our house, I've taken 4 big totes of things and distilled it down into less than 1 tote just because I'm putting the stuff in pouches. The new rule is no bins in bins. No totes in totes. For my camera gear, I found pouches, and I'll put a link in the description below. I think in Canada, it's like $30 for 6 of them, and they have really high quality zippers, and I love them. And this is my audio kit. So when I'm going on a shoot, my audio lavs and everything are in this, and then it goes in my drawer. I use these Rode Wireless Go mics, and I bought like a rigid case for them, and it just takes up so much space. This is perfect. I'm not gonna break them. I'm not gonna like step on this or anything. I have an audio kit. I have a travel kit. I have a DIT pouch that holds my drives and cables. If we have our whole kit in rigid cases, then like you're gonna need like a full-size van to move around, where a lot of the times I just wanna get into the city in a hatchback and get out. I understand if you're traveling, if you're going on flights and all of that stuff, but I would still think that, you know, your kit in pouches in a big Pelican, that's still better than in cases and cases and cases. So I know we all want this perfectly aesthetic Kaizen foam presentation of all our gear, but that's not reality. Filmmaking is not simple, it's messy, and you need lots of random pieces and parts, and this is what I do now. You probably saw my label here, this pink dot that is all over my YouTube channel. The next thing on my list that helped me this year was vinyl. We have a Cricut, which is marketed to women who like to live, laugh, and love. But I find myself using this Cricut all the time, not to cut a sign that says like wine o'clock or anything like that, but to literally cut pink circles so that I can stick them everywhere. And I mean everywhere. So I have this light called SpongeBob, and I do a lot of interviews with it. One of my crew members also has the same light, and so we did a shoot once where we had both our lights out, and at the end of the shoot we had no idea whose light was whose. And so that's what started this whole sticker thing. I went to Michael's and I found this one that's very close to my brand color, and I just bought a roll of the sticker and the iron-on vinyl, and I put pink dots on everything. My light has a pink dot, the case has one, and so you can very quickly tell the two kits apart. And for anything else that I'm worried about, I just have pink dots. My tip for you is to buy vinyl, but don't buy the machine. And that's why this sort of item is between, you know, $15 and $300. I don't know what a Cricut costs. We bought ours secondhand. Our local library has a Cricut machine, so if I didn't have one, I could buy the vinyl and then go and use their machine to cut, or just go to a place that cuts vinyl and have them just do a sheet of this for you. Recently, I bought some bags off of Amazon, and I just didn't want the big chunky logo on my bag, but I also needed a place to write what was in the bag, so I just cut it with scissors. You can cut vinyl with scissors. It's just nice to label your gear, and I don't know, I like handwriting more than like label makers. It's an audio kit. What's inside? An audio kit. We're almost there. The next item on my list are pony clamps or spring clamps. They're no surprise, they're nothing new. They're on every film set, and you probably have a bunch if you are a videographer of any sort or photographer. But I just discovered a way to use them that blew my mind. I do a bit of tabletop shooting. I've shot some commercials with a lot of food and product where you need reflections fixed and card held up in fun ways, and I've never seen this trick. When I film my overheads, I like to shape the light a little bit, and I want to use foam core. And so I was trying to figure out how to stand the film core up. I would clamp it to like bookends. I even cut some slots and some scrap 2x4s that I could slide foam core in and build these sort of like moving sort of dividers. But with the bookends, little did I know how close I was. It's hilarious how in filmmaking, usually the solution is less, one less thing. And I saw this guy on TikTok doing some product photography and used his spring clamps as legs for little pieces of foam core to help him shape the light. And it blew my mind. It was one of those moments where you're like, I can't believe I haven't seen this. Maybe I'm just the idiot. Maybe you've been doing it for years. But if there's someone else who doesn't know about this, it's pretty cool. It's pretty simple. And it's my new standard way of just crafting the light on my work table. I love multi-purpose tools. So the last thing on the list is just rope. This is paracord, and if you've been on a film set, your camera assistant will have a bunch of rolls of tape on a piece of cable or rope hanging from their follow focus stand. Just make a loop out of rope, and it's a handy place for your spring clamps to go. Or make a piece of rope with a loop on each end to go on a carabiner so that you can throw tape on it and keep it organized. It kind of like pouchifies this stuff in a nice way. I can just throw my whole reel of tape, all my spring clamps into a bin and take them to a shoot. So now even in my workshop, I have ropes with tape on them because tape is annoying. We've got a hole in the middle and we can put a rope through it. I just put all our mason jar lids on one of these. I'm starting to talk about canning jars on a filmmaking channel. I think that's a sign that we should end it. That we should just end it all. We should end the channel. Put a rope on me because I'm done. So that's my list of weird things that I use all the time around the house making this YouTube channel or doing my own video work. Some are new ideas, some are old ideas, but like I said earlier, filmmaking isn't just a couple big macro choices. It's a series of small micro choices, little ideas, janky tools, weird techniques that all sort of scaffold and support a big idea. And if you want to be a director, you often don't have to worry about all of these details. I know a lot of directors who are not really technically minded. They're just focused on the story and their crew supports them. But I'm a total DIY nerd director, and I love hacking things together to support my ideas. Because I know the real truth about filmmaking is that God is in the details.